Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about state management and different states and different kind of storing data inside your app in FlutterFlow and in Flutter in general and Dart. And we are going to talk about, there are a lot. Today we are going to talk about the three main that I'm going to focus in this video, which is the app page widget state, and then we have the shared preferences, and the last one is receive port. So first of all, let me tell you why I'm doing this video. Let me go to my channel, and if you haven't watched already the video, which is background service in FlutterFlow, right now, by the time of recording of this video, it's available only for paid members. So if you haven't already, if you are already not a paid member in the YouTube channel, please consider doing that, as you have access to videos that are only for paid members, and then it will be released to the public. So it could take like a month or two in order for the public to see those videos. And I did it because I have a strict schedule of releasing videos, and because it's taking a lot of time for doing each individual video, I now release it each week. So that's why it's taking like a lot of time for the videos to be released. But first, when I record them, I upload them and I make them available for the paid members. And you have to be a paid member, which is Fanatic or above. Great. So let me tell you. So first of all, each of the things is not related to FlutterFlow. It's related to Flutter and Dart in general. So those concepts are legit for Flutter and Dart. They are not specific for FlutterFlow, but we of course can use it in FlutterFlow because FlutterFlow is using Flutter and Flutter is using the Dart language. So it's Flutter is the framework, FlutterFlow is the platform, Flutter is the framework, and Dart is the language. Okay, great. So the first thing that we are going to talk today is the app page widget state, and those are, before that, they were called local state, and local state in FlutterFlow was available across all your application. But since a couple of months ago, FlutterFlow changed that concept, and now they call it app state. That the variables will be available across all your application. They have page state, which is only available in your page application, and then the last thing is that widget state, which is like a component state of sort and something like that. It's not something like that. It is component state, which is, for example, which is only available in the component state. And those are made like that because sometimes, let me show you. Let me show you this in the actual FlutterFlow project. This is the app state. It's available here on the left side. Then the page state is available here when you are in the individual page. It's available here on the right, and it says local page state or state management, and it says local state variables, and you can create from here. Those will be page specific variables. And then we have, I don't have a component right now, but we can create a component, I think, with this button, or yeah, exactly. So we can create a component, and let's say I'll use this component now. Doesn't really matter. And when you are inside a component, this is the local, again, the button, it's called state management, and this time it's called the local component state management. So this is the widget state management. So you have like I said, you have three types of state management. And This refers to the data that you need to preserve across app runs. An app state includes the user preferences and the current information displayed to the user and the overall condition of the app. State management is a complex area of app development, and there are many ways to manage app state in Flutter, including provider, a river pot, block, and etc. So those are actually classes that you can use in Flutter, but under the hood, FlutterFlow is actually doing that for you, so you don't have to mess or think about what is FlutterFlow using and what is the code behind it. You don't have to think about it. It's FlutterFlow what is doing that for you. So that's why FlutterFlow is great about it. This is one of the things, of course. And then let me actually talk to you about why we are going to talk about this in this video. So the reason for that is that I have actually a video that it's called background services in FlutterFlow. If you haven't watched that video already, please make sure to watch it before that, because it's a very interesting video. It's about running a background services in your app, like in my case, getting the phone book, the phone lock calls. So when there is a new phone phone call, we'll get the phone calls, and also you can use it for user location. So if you have a delivery app, for example, you can use this to get the user location every 1 minute or 10 minutes or whatever. And using that process, I was trying to get the data across the app and use it in the background, but I was not able to actually do that with the app page and widget states. And sometimes you have situations in your custom code that you want to use the page or let's say the app state. You want to use the app state because the page state, the widget state, you cannot right now use them in a custom code. So that's important to know. The only state you can use right now is the app state. So when you have the app state, sometimes you're trying to get the app state, but it's not working. For some reason, it's not working. And you're not getting the data. And that was actually my case. And that's why I actually changed that and I code the shared preferences. So what are the shared preferences? The shared preferences is a persistent key value storage system commonly used for simple data. So this is very important. It's only used for simple data. It's typically used for storing small pieces of data such as user settings or flags. The data is stored across app sessions, meaning it is persistent even when the app is closed and reopened. Shared preference should not be used for sensitive information. So you actually say, why should I use shared preferences when we already have persistent here in the app state? Well, like I said, the reason for that is that sometimes the app state will actually not work. For me, in the situation that I had, let me actually show you the code that I used. I had this main action, and inside my main action, let me just open it. So this is my main action, and inside my main action, I wanted to actually pass the phone, and the phone is like, what is the name of the phone? So I have like a name of phones, and I wanted to pass the name of the phone to my API call. And passing the name of the phone using app state was not possible in my particular situation, because this was running on the background, the service was running on the background and was already running. So that's why I was not able to get this data using the app state. So if I go back to my, let me just delete that real quickly. If I go back to my app, I have one page, which is, and I have only one button here, which is running actually the background service. And if I click on the actions related to this button, I have like an app state over here, which is checking if the service is running or not. So I'm using this app state because it's easier to use app state, and I'm using this app state only to change the value of the text. So if I click on here, I have if then else. So you have conditional value, and then I'm just checking if the service is running, then the text will say stop background services. But if the service is not running, it will actually say start background services. And this is the only, and I can use page state for that as well. There's no problem about it. I can use page state with that. But I decided to use app state because I was thinking that I was able to use the app state in my custom code, but unfortunately, like I said, I was not able to do that. Unfortunately, the state was only false, and the boolean was only false, and it was not changing to true. And the reason for that, I wanted to change the state to true, is because I wanted to actually send, first of all, I wanted to send and say, if I stop the service, stop the service, stop the background service. So that was my first initial .y and how to use the running service. And then the other thing I had is actually change get the name. So I have actually those choice chips, and if you click on the choice chip, the first thinking was to actually change the app state. The app state was the phone one, and to change the app state to the phone, and then use this app state inside my custom code. But that didn't work as well using my background services. So like I said, sometimes it will not work, and that's why I actually try to do it with the shared preferences. And it's very simple. This is the code. It will be available in my GitHub repo. And you have to actually import a package called SharedPreferences. And this is how you submit shared preferences. And it's you get the key, which I made it in an argument, so it can be dynamic, and you have the value. So in my case, the key will be phone, and the value will be either two strings, right? So this is how you save it, and this is the custom code. It's very, like I said, it's very simple custom code. I have the no safety over here, and then if I go back to my app, and if someone click on the choice chip, this is my custom action, and I have the key here. It's the phone string, the string or the text phone, and then in my case here, the string I have this is the name of the phone, and this is the name of the other phone, and I have the same concept. I have the app state getting the data, and this is the actual changing to the other name of the phone, which is this one in this case. Great. So when I did that, it was actually working. And then my background services actually started to work, or my background service started to work, and I was able to actually get the phone. So getting a value, it's very simple as well. This is the code for getting the value. It's shared preferences, and then preferences await shared preferences get instance, and then I have string phone because I'm getting the phone, and it will be preferences that get string, and then which key I'm going to use, and this in my case I'm going to use phone, and I have this no safety because if I don't have the phone set up, I'll just get an empty string, and you can actually see it. It's the same thing over here, but this time it says set string, and I have the key and the value. And when I'm getting it, it will actually, instead of set string, it will say get string. And then I only need the key. And then I will get the value and store it in this string. And then I can use it. So like I said, sometimes you can do it this way. And you can actually have, because here I have my shared preferences, and this would be storing my preference, and you can have another, you can easily have another custom action, which will be actually getting the shared preferences. Let me actually quickly do that for you right now. So it would be like, for example, we can have like get shared preferences, and then I'll have an argument which will be key. So I'll only use the key, and then I can get, with using the green button, I can get the boilerplate, copy the boilerplate, and then the first thing I always do is no safety. And then if I don't get any key, I'll just make empty string. And then I can paste that over here. I have to include, actually, let me save that real quickly and include the shared preferences. And this would be the import, of course. I have to include the import. And you don't need actually to add dependencies, because this is used by FlutterFlow as well. So you don't need to add any dependencies, which is great. And how you can get it, you get it by the key, and the key will actually, you actually write here key, to get the key, and we'll have a no value, a no safety over here as well. And this is if we don't have this key. This is different no safety than this one. Here is if we don't have the key, we'll get the empty. But if we have the key, for example, phone in my case, but we don't set it up, we'll actually get an empty string. And this would be like, let's say, a value. And then finally, we want to actually return the value. So let's return the value from our custom action. And then to return the value, of course, we need to change it and say string. But right now, if I click save, it will delete this right part. So I have to click on the green button again and just copy the 10th line on the first line of the custom action, and then paste it over here. And then I have to save it, and now it's not deleted anymore. And then I can compile it. And this is how you get data using shared preferences. And this is how you set data and preferences. Great. So this is everything you need to know about shared preferences. And then we can continue to the last one, which is ReceivePort. Okay, great. So we can talk about ReceivePort and why we are going to use that, and when actually we're going to use that. So let me go back to my app again, and let me show you why I ended up using that. So like I said, I have this background service is the main action that I have in my app. And I have this background service, which I'm getting my phone calls from my phone, which is working fine, is working great. And then I'm getting the phone. So like I said, I tried to use with the FF app state. So I tried to use it with the app state, but it did not work. When I changed it using the UI inside my app, and the background service was already running, it was not changing, and it was not getting the value. Then I ended up using shared preferences, and then actually it worked. And then the other thing that I wanted to do is actually to stop the background service. So my whole idea is that I had this button, like I showed you before, that it's running the background service. So my idea was that if the background is running, if it's not actually running, to start to run it. And then I have this uh, change the app state, and it says service running. It says true. It is not running. And then I have the main action, which is actually running the main action. It will start the custom action, which is called main action. And then I add it and try to actually do it with shared preferences. So I try to do it with shared preferences, and it's only getting true or false. I'm getting the values true and false. And then what I'm trying to do is that on start, when you're starting the service, I want to check if it's running is equal to false. So if it's equal to false, then it means that I have to stop the service, right? I click it once, uh, and then it will be equal to true because the service is running. But then I click it to false, and then the service will have to stop. This is my idea. And then, like I said, I tried to do it with shared preferences, but it was not working. It was always false. I tried to do it app state, but it was always false as well. So then I was thinking myself, what else can I do? And the thing that I did is to use ReceivePort. So this is a part of Dart isolate system. You can read about more about isolate system. Of course, you can Google it and read about more about that. So Dart uses isolate to achieve concurrency, as it doesn't support traditional multi-thread due to its single-threaded event loop model. So ReceivePort is used to receive messages from another isolate. To send data to a receive port, you get it to the corresponding send port. So it sounds very complex, and it actually is complex, but the whole idea is that I think you can think it as something to have messages. Like you can think of it as a radio or something like that, because a radio can be played all around the country or in the world. But if you change a track in the radio, it will actually correspond to all the receivers of the radio, all the transmissions, all the people who are actually listening to the radio. They will actually listen. They will actually start to listen to that song that it's played on the radio. So it's something similar to this as well. The whole idea is that you have something like a port that will be listening for a specific value, and when this value is changed, it will actually get the new value from it. So in my particular case, what I did is I actually set up a very simple code over here to set a message. And sending in the message, you don't need any dependencies, which is great because this is Dart. This is source code of Dart. This is not Flutter. It is actually Dart, the language that is using those libraries. And the libraries that we are using is isolate, and the other one is UI. And we're calling this my port message, and we have the port name. So this will be the port name, and you can think of it as a radio channel. So in my case, this will be like a service. Is service running or service or something like that? So this will be my service, and then I have the actual value. So the actual value, I will have like two types of value. The first value, or the two different values. The first value is start, when I start a port. When I start a service, and then when I stop it, I will have stop. So those are the two values that I have. And actually, I did it exactly like I explained it. if I go here, when I click on the button, and if the service is true already, it will go here and stop it. So it will go here first, the app state will go to false, and then the custom action that I'm going to use is my port message, and we'll have this is the one that I'm using, the name of the port, or the name of the radio channel, let's say it like that, is the service running port. And then the string is like, I wrote it like stop capitals. Of course, it could be any string, but I just used capital letters and just say stop. And then if it's running, if we start it, we change this to service running port, and then we change this to start. We need to actually change it, because if we just keep it on stop, it will be always stop, right? So that's why we needed to change. If it started, let's change it to start, but if it's stopping, let's change it to stop. Great. And then how to retrieve that? If I go to my main action, and if I go down over here, you can actually see the code that I'm retrieving it's this piece of code over here. So let me actually copy that, and let me create a new. I'll actually duplicate the port message this time, because I need the imports, so I don't need to write the imports again. And then I will actually paste the code that I just get from my main action, and then this would be I would say get port message, and I will change this to get port message. And I don't need the value, because I will actually get the value, so I don't need the value. And then I think I can save it. So this is how you get a port message. So we need the port name. So this is, like I said, the channel. Now, if you have the radio example, this will be the radio channel. And then we are going to initiate the receiving port, and this is how we do it in this line. And then we have the isolate name service dot service port name mapping, and this is actually the name of the port. So we have to actually write it down over here, write that down over here, and we can actually do it the better way. We can highlight that and click Control D, Control D to select it each individual time. And then we can delete it, and we have multiple cursors now, and we can write port name like that. Great. And then why it's complaining over here, because it says this could be could not exist. So let's make it like that. So if it's not exist, make it an empty string. Now, so we're getting, in our case, we're getting the service port, let's say, and then we register the service port, and then we're getting the service port, and we are actually listening. So we are actively listening for the port if the port changes, or if the radio changes, or in our example, if the song changes. So we have a print which we can actually remove because we don't need it. And then we have, let me just compile it real quickly so you can see that we don't have any errors or any issues with that. So we have the port, like I said, and we're actively listening for this port and for the message from this port. And the message is actually the value. So we're listening for this value or this message, or in our radio example, the song of the radio. And then if the song changes, if the song is equal to stop, if we change it to stop, then we actually going to remove the port. So we're going to stop the port from here, or we can actually do whatever we want to, right? So if it's a stop, we can do whatever you want to with it. So we are actively listening. This is actually to get the message. You actually need to use it with your own code and not use it separately, because the shared, you can see we don't have any issues with the code. With the shared preferences, we're actually setting a value over here, and then we can get it over here. But here on the port, we can set the value, or uh, we can set the value over here, but to listen for the value, it's not a good practice to actually do it with an isolated custom custom action. For the reason is that we need to actually do something with it. So in my case, my particular case over here, if we go down and see the message over here, what I'm doing is actually stopping the service. So what I'm doing, I'm listening for these changes of the shared port, uh, of the receive port, sorry, and then I'm listening for changes. And if the message or if the value is equal to stop, I'm actually going to stop the background service. So this is how I did it, and it's actually working. I tested using Android Studio connected to my phone, and is actually working successfully. So those are, like I said, the three ways you can use. So not only the app state and the page state and the widget state, but you can also use shared preferences, and you can also use receive port. So in summary, like they say over here, in summary, app state and share preferences are more relative to data persistence across runs and state management in your application, while receive port is more related to concurrency and communication between different execution contexts, in this case, isolate within your app. So keep that in mind. I think it's just a great arsenal of just knowing that and knowing how to use it. In the end of the day, it's not super complex, if you ask me, to use the shared preferences and to use the uh, port, to use the receive port as well. Um, so, like I said, in my case, I always try to use from the bottom of it and then scale it to the top of it, uh, and see whatever which will actually work. So in my case, I will start with the widget level, and then I'll go to the page level, and then go to the app level, and then I'll go to share preferences, and my top level actually will be receive port. But like I said, you can use this receive port if the app state for some reason is not working in your custom code, or if you want to have something that it's actively listening for changes. And like I said, the app state or the page state or the widget state is not working for you. So that was the video for today. The code will be available in my GitHub repo. And before we go, actually, I just wanted to tell you that I set up a Discord channel for my 3,000 subscribers. So when we actually reach 3,000 subscribers, I'm going to officially announce my Discord channel. But yeah, just if you like this video, please subscribe, and let me show you. I think I can show you my Discord channel. It's this one, and you can probably see that I have set up on the left side. I have set up um, some different sections that you can talk about it. So yeah, if you haven't already subscribed to my Discord channel, please do it. I would, like I said, I will officially announce it on my 3,000 subscribers. So thank you very much for watching. And just before you go, one more thing. I just want to say that the paid membership for YouTube is now open. So you can be a paid member to my YouTube channel, which means a lot. And thank you very much for all the people who are right now paid members to the channel.